hello, and welcome to the Maxine Phillips Life Strategy Show. I trust that you all have had a wonderful holiday. Listen, all of this COVID, flu, all these other things are going around, so be sure to take care of yourself and take care of your health. As we get started for 2024, I am so excited about my guest tonight and all of the great things that she's doing in the community. But let's talk about Levelers just for a second, because Levelers is all about success without levels. We practice, we teach about it, and we help you to understand why we want you to adopt the Levelers mindset, because then you are creating the strategies for yourself, you're putting it in place, and you're working with those actions so that you are successful each and every day. Our whole objective is for you to live your legacy while you are here. Let's not wait until you're no longer here and everybody's talking about all of the great things that you've done. We need to be talking about them right now as you're doing them. As they say, give me my flowers while I am alive. And that's what the Life Strategy Show does. It helps us to bring on phenomenal guests who talk about the strategies that they have put in place during their lifetime by living their legacy and helping others move forward, mentoring them, advocating for our children, for the community, for women, and for the less fortunate. And after all, we all were stuck when COVID first hit because we didn't know how to pivot. But because individuals like my guest Geraldine, who's coming on tonight to talk about her legacy and what she has done, has helped us to become unstuck because we are willing to share our wisdom. Now get your pen and paper ready. Invite other people to come along and listen to this phenomenal conversation tonight, because at Levelist, we drop platinum nuggets. We go beyond the golden nuggets. We drop those platinum nuggets. So be ready to ask questions. And also, we want you to be ready to get involved. Because after all, we have all of these knowledge, skills, and abilities that we need to be sharing. So let's get started. I want to introduce to you Geraldine. I tell you, this woman is phenomenal. I had an opportunity to meet her no more than about 3 weeks ago, but I tell you, I feel like I have been knowing her for 30 years. And the reason for that is because of the work that she's doing. I mean, this woman has 47 years of advocating for our students, and she's going to talk about the programs that she's put in place. I'm not going to even touch on all of the awards that she has received because of her generosity, because of her being willingness to step forward and advocate for our youth and for the community. So I'm going to bring Geraldine up because there's nothing like hearing the story from the storyteller. So Geraldine, come on in and let's get this conversation started. How are you today? She's going to be talking to us about the many wonderful things that she's done in the community, and she's the director of Mary Magdalene Ministries and the overseer of Self. And she's going to give us what that acronym stands for and all of the great work that she's doing. So why don't you just get us started, first of all, with these 47 years of being an advocate for our youth and the community. So how did you even get started in this wonderful career that you're doing?
Being rebellious.
Okay. All right, let's dive a little bit deeper into that. Talk to me a little bit more.
Well, I've never liked injustices, and I I didn't even know it. They talk about how your parents can speak things over you. So my grandmother used to always say, "Girl, you gonna be a blessing to the young and the old."
Mm.
And so the first real job that I got, it was in a nursing home, state ran nursing home under, I won't call the administration, but anyway, in a statewide nursing home in Wilson County. And as I began to see how horrible that people were being treated, I began to fight. I began to fight for and be a voice for the folks who couldn't speak for themselves. So I would always bring in the it's called it's the investigative agency over health facilities.
Okay.
So they would come in on mock inspections. One time they landed the helicopter on top of the facility and came in, just seeing to see and responding to complaints.
Right.
And so eventually it got so bad until they fired me. I brought in the first um, union, healthcare union there, and they were just sick of me because I was making a lot of noise, and it was a state ran facility. So eventually they fired me, and I took them to court, and I won the case, and that's what started me on this. Well, no, before that I was met Abner Berry, and I was just so inspired. I must have been 17, 18 years of age or whatever.
Mhm.
And they were building a library in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. And so I just spent a lot of my time categorizing books and that kind of thing to help put that library together. And I rode on the back of a truck with Angela Davis, and that's what it was.
Wow.
And I rode on
Wow.
work around hog farm. And I was a young girl, and she came down. We rode, I think it was to Halifax County somewhere, to a pig farm,
Mhm.
pig farm, and we were protesting hog waste.
Okay.
That's how I got started in that. And then after I won the case with special care, I went on to I started seeing young boys on the streets when they should have been in school, and I started wondering, what's going on. So many of our Black boys are on the streets, and I started asking questions, and I found out that they were being suspended from school. Had been suspended from school.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went to, they wanted me to go to their mom and could find out why. They were happy to for me when I asked, can you take me to your mother? They were happy to
Right.
take me to their mother. And so when I get to the mother would say she wouldn't have had a suspension notice. Half the time she wouldn't know the child was out of school. It was just so much going on. So I started advocating for young boys at that time, and I found that young Black boys were just so angry. Oh, they were so angry. They were so angry. And so from that I wanted to try to help them with the anger that I saw
Mm-hmm.
inside of them. So we started a boxing program called Phelps Athletics Club. Uh, they did kickboxing, um, uh, boxing, amateur boxing, and
Uh-huh.
I became the first female Black referee for the American Amateur Boxing Federation.
Wow.
Uh, and like I said, from that, just constantly working on behalf of young Black males because they were in such large numbers, as they call it, disproportionate numbers of African American males who were hitting, from the home to the school to to the juvenile justice system. So I guess it must have been back in, I don't know, early 90s that I started talking about the homeschool prison cycle. And I
Wow.
got a grant from Z. Smith Reynolds Foundation and to do what was called experiential research. And so for about 20 years, well, this is still the experiential research, uh, uh, implementing designing programs that are culturally sensitive to the kids that I serve.
Okay.
That particularly when we look at things like ADHD, like attention deficit, helping children to understand attention deficit and take control over focusing, learn how to focus.
Right.
Because even as the adults, we have to learn how to focus sometimes because we can go off and way
Different.
out, yeah,
Yes.
and
Yes,
then
we can.
and then
Yeah.
come on back, and stop making children feel like they are retarded, that they have, you know what I'm saying? Because all it takes is to help them to learn, to teach them to
To
focus,
learn.
teach
To
them to
focus
focus,
and to
teach them
learn.
to
That's good. That's
focus. Yeah.
good.
So so I've just been doing this is the work that I've been doing since then. I mean I can go on and on and on and on and on, but we don't have time for that. So
But you know what? The beautiful thing about it is that we do have time for you to talk about how you have been so instrumental in being the vulnerable, the ones who've been, like you say, put aside, who've been talked down upon. And you have to have someone who's going to be their voice, because they're voiceless at some point in life, but you've been that voice for these individuals in the community. So talk to us a little bit about some of the things that your partnership with your ministry, Mary Magdalene Ministry, and how you partner with the Wake County Public School System and some of the things that you've done there.
okay, I came here 20 in 2003. I came from Wilson, North Carolina. Like I said, developing those programs and looking at. So the first thing I did when I came here, I talked to a friend about a program, and she had it implemented here in Wake County, and it was the parent liaison program. And the parent liaison program that was in 2000 when I came here. And as I said, the mode was to get more parents involved
Right.
in the school system. And so I had done a lot of work with teaching parents how to navigate the educational process
Okay.
through teaching education law and policy. So I came here but as a role as a liaison to between the school and the home to get parents into the schools. And apparently I was really good at it. I was really good at it. And the reason I left that job was because of what I call hypocrisy in the culture of organizations, when people say one thing and do something else and don't adhere to the mission and the values of the organization.
Right.
And instead of us concentrating on serving children and families, it was about ego. And so it was said that we didn't hire you to be an advocate. We didn't hire you to be an advocate. And yeah, you got a way of getting parents in schools. You really got a way of getting parents in the schools, but we don't trust what you're saying and how you're doing it. So those are the kind of things that I fought. Then I left Wake County Schools in 2005, and I went back in the community and just started doing the same things, looking at people. I was already known from Wilson County, so people were still calling me to take education cases. And so that's how I got started. First was just advocating, helping parents who had an IEP, parents whose child had been suspended from school, and we still do that. Whose child had been suspended from school, somebody who's having a difficult child is being bullied, but whatever it is that parents are dealing with that's inequitable is what we targeted on, is remedying that situation. And so we still do that. Some of the other things that we've done is we've gone to hearings to keep children in schools. We work with we've been on committees to try to guide policy. Um, we just finished implementing the bullying policy last year, but just because we've implemented it don't mean that it's working. And so we really need the community to stay involved to really bring that policy back and get some grit into it. We do what we're looking to uh, put in place an institute. It's called the Restorative and Transformative Family and Community Institute. The institute looks at 8 or 9 areas of focus. One is ACEs. The other one is resilience. The other one is uh, race equity, internalized race oppression, education, breakdown in the family structure. Another piece that we call masking, and then teaching the peacekeeping circle. The peacekeeping circle is a tool that we use when we're returning the power away from the courts and away from agencies and away from institutions, and we're giving that power back to the community for the community to deal with their own problems in the community, to deal, instead of having when there are issues that are not so bad, turn those issues over to the court,
Right.
for the elders in the courts, and I mean the community court. We've talked with the DA some about these community courts. Of course, she has not moved. She has not responded, but what she says every time, I haven't forgot what you said. Well, we're not ready for that right now anyway, so it's okay. You know what I'm saying? But we
Time and
planted
place. Right.
we planted a seed. Um, but we have trained community members to become circle peacekeeping facilitators. They range from agency heads to mental health workers to just juvenile court counselors to just anybody in the community who had the heart to want to become a peacekeeper. Peacekeeping is a tradition, indigenous tradition of governing a community, you know. And so we've got about 60, maybe about 60 people in the community trained. And as we said, we're still working with around education and CELT. CELT is the Community Equity Leadership Team is what it stands for. Community Equity Leadership Team. And it is the community arm into the Wake County Public Schools Office of Equity Affairs.
Okay.
What we do as CELT members, we're really trying to grow the CELT members because our numbers means power. So what we do is when there are issues of inequity anywhere in the community that we are confronted with, and we try to help resolve it, or we try to help deal, mediate it.
Right.
And they've been really good with helping us with that. We started this training with Wake County Public Schools, and that's how it came about. It's through Wake County Public Schools, Campbell University, and a woman named Kay Prentice, who's the world-renowned circle keeper. That's what she's known for, who came in and taught, confirmed for me, and taught others, because that was what my grandfather did.
Okay.
The circle keeping process, and so that's what we.
So I heard you say that you're still, train individuals on that circle process. So after this conversation, I'm sure that we can put a link to where individuals can go and seek additional information, or even if those who are interested in becoming a part of it, will we be able to offer that to them?
I can offer a phone number and my website.
Okay, then that's what we'll give. We'll leave a phone number and especially the website, so that you'll be able to go out there and read about it. And then if you see that this is something that you're interested in, by all means, and pick up the telephone and call and make it happen. And you also mentioned Miss Geraldine, and before we get too far gone, I'm gonna say Mama G, because they also call you Mama G. So tell me a little bit about Mama G and how you adopted or got that adopted name, because I'm sure it's about the peacekeeping as well.
No, it's actually about our young men who were on the street trying to be gang members.
Okay.
We're gang members. And my grandson at the time, my grandson was kind of experimenting or getting caught up in the glory of the gang stuff. And so he had a little crew that used to say they had a corner, they had this corner, they had that corner. And I would go out on the corner where they were, basically let them have it, as they used to call it. Let them
Right.
have it. Informing them that you don't have a corner. This is not your corner.
Right.
You don't pay taxes on it. And in a very strong grandmotherly way, I would tell them, get your ass in the car, get your, you know what's in this car? We're gonna go home and we're gonna cook some fish, chicken strips and
Mhm.
fries, and and you gonna sit here and you're gonna listen to me teach. That was their punishment for me having to go.
Okay.
That was that.
Okay.
So I, they were always talking about the G, and I would tell them, I'm the G. No, I'm Mama G. Recognize. So that's how I got that name.
I
That's how.
love it. I love it. You took control. And not only that, you used the word teach, and it was a teachable moment. And so you took that time to teach them and have them to sit down and listen. But at the same time, not only did you feed them food, but you fed them wisdom.
So this work has been very uh, individual.
Mm-hmm.
It has been very, very individual. I was just telling the young man just a few minutes ago, I've held on so long. I've just never been able to let it go because the need is still there. It's there, and I know what God has shown me, and I can't let it go. But I believe that we're coming to that place where God is saying no more. That we're going to get up, we're going to get involved. I think people care more. People have been looking for ways to do something. And so I'm just really, really excited the way SELT is really growing. And SELT is that instrument to where we can get things done through that school system. Um, I don't know if you have another question or not. I don't want to take up
Well,
too.
what I was thinking while you were talking about self, I also read about there are 4 areas of self in which you all focus on. And I know one of them started out with student discipline.
One was student discipline because of this. You read them out to me because I can't remember.
Right. The student discipline was one. Then we
And
had the parent
let me
outreach.
say why. Because
Okay.
when we look at the numbers for children being suspended in public schools, African American children, children with disabilities, English language learners, children living in rural areas, and children with disabilities are are disproportionate. They use the word disproportionate, meaning uh
Right.
more than, which I don't always deal with numbers because I think there's a word called agronology, meaning a deception in data.
Right.
So, but anyway, they're disproportionate in when it comes to suspension, when it comes to suspension from school, when it comes to going in contact with the justice system, when it comes to poor academic performance, when it comes to mental health issues. When you look at almost any area that is negative, that population of children is always disproportionate.
Right.
Always disproportionate. So, I feel we have to concentrate on those kids. So that's why we want to get those numbers down and stop suspending them, but find strategies for these children.
Right. I love that. Alternatives to right. That's going to improve them and help them. The second one was parent outreach. So talk to me a little bit about the parent outreach side and what you all do in that area.
Parent outreach is what we do every day when we advocate for parents, or when parents contact me and they're dealing with an issue with school.
Mhm.
Many of the families that were there last night were parents that have advocated for issues in schools. And so the outreach is basically to be able to identify those parents, help them to resolve whatever educational issue that they have, so that they and build that relationship between that parent and the school, and teach them how to navigate that process so they know how to support that child
Mhm.
to get the best educational outcomes for them.
Yeah, I love it. I love that. And help them to understand how to support that child because that's what parents are looking for. Some of them don't know I mean, if you didn't get it as a child coming up, you having to learn it later in life.
That's
And
right.
what if you don't have an opportunity to learn it? Then who's going to help you to understand what you need to do for your children? And many parents are stuck. They're
Mhm.
unsure how to help their child. And I love the fact that you all are now coming along the side of them and say, hey, we are here. We are a resource for you. And
Yeah, we've been doing.
let's walk it out together.
Yeah, we've trained more than 8,000 parents.
Beautiful,
We've
beautiful.
trained more than 8,000 parents. We need to train 80,000, 800,000 more
Or yeah,
because now like let me regress because not trained because um I don't think we train people. I think we walk beside people and we support
yeah,
and we learn from each other, But
right.
in walking beside people as they go through this process with how to get my child, how to stop him from being suspended. What kind of strategies can I use to help him at home and at school? What happens when my child is suspended for a manifestation of his behavior?
Hmm.
You're suspending children for their illness, for the illness that they have, and so it's really just being a support to families, and if you understand the law, the policy, then that's the battle there. What does the law say about certain things? When we talk about so many parents now who say my children are afraid to go to school. Well, if you would organize, then there's something that could be done about that because the law says that your children have to be provided an environment that is conducive for children to learn, a
Right.
safe environment that is conducive for children to learn. Based on the law, if you would just get up and just move and just organize and just show up. There's a lot of things that we could do, but I think sometimes we have so many other things that are pressing. You know what I'm saying? A survival, a family sick, a crisis every day.
Right.
But I think that if that we're gonna have to move.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to move in order to I mean, too many things are happening with our kids right now. Too much violence, so much mental health. So many things are happening, and the violence is getting more horrendous.
Right. And it's more pronounced and it's more on in the TV, waves, and it's
Everywhere,
being shown. People are recording it, repeating it,
everywhere, everywhere.
all of that. One of the third one, and you've already spoken a little bit about this one, and that's the restorative practices and teaching empathy and building character through the peace keeping circles. And we talked about that we will put a link for individuals who are interested in going through that peacekeeping circle, because I think that could be a powerful learning experience for a lot of adults and for some teenagers. You just
It's
never
a it's
know.
a we use the circle has been used for children. Us we still use it for children in whatever grades. Adults, we've used it in family situations. It can be used in so many ways.
Yeah.
Uh, Being able to teach or teaching people circle keeping. I find that people got to have a heart.
Yeah.
You got to have a heart. It's a spiritual process, and so a person has to be very spiritual to carry it out in the right way. That's why it's not surviving in public schools.
Because it's from the heart, like you said, it has to be heart led. It
Well, it's like the church in the community.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of like the church in the community and in the indigenous culture and as many cultures, there's a spiritual place where people go to in the community to resolve issues. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Or there's a process, there's a ritual, there's a whatever, because people are very serious about maintaining those things because they're serious about maintaining their culture and saving their children. And so I think we once we understand those processes and understand spiritually and in our history historically, you know, why those things were, I think we will one restore our family structure And I think that coming together through the circle process and engaging in that deep conversation
Mhm.
provides healing for us. You
Yes.
know, so that's the first stage of working in circles. We can also, when there's conflict in the community, we don't have to go to the courts and have folks arrested and whatever. We use the courts in our community, which are the elders, but it has the same power. It has the same, you know, their guidelines and whatever that are put in place that are just as serious as the courts.
Right.
And so that's what gives us that the circle, that governing power to keep the peace, to be the keep. We are the peacekeeping um, facility. We are charged to keep the peace,
Right.
and so
And I like the thought of a circle because a circle does not end. It's a continual.
it's
And
about
that's
the
the key.
interconnection.
Right.
It's
The interconnection, the healing process, the understanding, the open of communication, and the exchange of understanding and communication. And we all have a voice here. So I love that. And
and
even
non-judgment and no
and
judgment.
not judgment, right? Because even in some of the icebreakers and some of the workshops that I've done, I've put people in circles, and you toss the ball, and the ball has a question, and they're able to answer the question, and so it gives that freedom also to voice what you're thinking and how you're feeling. So I like that. The last part was school and community safety, and you already spoke a little bit about that, and it's the circle of trust and fostering relationships and repairing harm.
No, that one is really more about bullying. That one is really about bullying. We were having so many problems with bullying, and years ago um, we have understood and seen that if we didn't address bullying, that we were going to have a crisis.
Mhm.
We saw the number of children that were committing suicide. We saw the numbers that were continuing to rise with fights and affrays, and the numbers that were our children that were being uh, pushed into the what we call the homeschool prison cycle, being in contact with the juvenile courts. We saw those numbers keep rising, keep rising, keep rising. And that
Mhm.
was the reason why we put in place, why the school system put in place restorative practices, the
Mm.
circle keeping in the schools. And I don't know how much money they spent um, training staff in the school to address the issue, but a lot of turnover happened, a lot of things happened, and teachers didn't have time, said that they didn't have time, so it it wasn't used very effectively. It
Right.
wasn't used very effectively. So um, we looked at putting policy, as I said last year. We finally adopted a bullying policy that we did have input in, but the way we had input in didn't reflect in the policy. And even if you implement policy without some action or without some, training, without some, you still got to teach empathy.
Mhm.
And that's what circles does, is when it brings them together, and you iron out whatever it is that's going on between you. You iron it out, and you teach them to really care about other children. I do a Saturday program with Juniper Level Church, and that's what we do with a lot of the kids, because all they do is fuss and fight, name calling. And from the
Mhm.
time that we started, we've seen that significantly decrease, significant. And only thing we've done is shown them how we hurt each other. You
Mm.
know, we teach them their power. Look at what you did. It was the children that brought about the signing of the Civil Rights Act.
Mm.
It wasn't Dr. King, as we've been taught. Not Dr. That those children that you saw with the dogs and the whatever and the water hose, and what, those were children. Those were not adults, and that is the reason why the Civil Rights Bill was signed, was because the world saw what America would do to their children, to even babies, and brought national shame on. And so when you help children to understand, look at what you did.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what you did as children. Listen, you see that little boy? You see that little boy? Help them to recognize that children fought for education. It
Right.
changes the perceptions.
Yeah. And that even a child can have play a major impact on the change of laws, and how things are done. So that's good. I know that there was a recent upset with the new superintendent here in the Wake County Public School System. So can you share any of that information at this time with us? And has anything come about since you voiced your concern?
Yes, yes. I am happy to do that because as I've said to community members, I didn't have a problem putting it out there, and I don't have a problem talking about the outcome. And in fact, I feel like I should. We had the meeting um Friday, yesterday afternoon, 6:30. Oh, was it? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And our goal was to go in and to repair relationship, not repair, but to build a relationship, because the problem was that we didn't have a relationship, you know. And when I went in, he was very apologetic for the way he, for everything that had happened, and my goal was to build relationships and bring us into relationship, and so he was very open to doing that, and so we met for 2 hours during the community process of a circle. And I think that when we left out with just what we came in for, and that was that community understanding, and that understanding, and that strong, a better relationship. I
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's not the end, because there's, we got to keep working, and we got to keep working, because it's not just enough to have that relationship. Our end goal, what we want to happen, is that um, we want to keep building this coalition of resources, and so the and what we want to do is we want to identify a particular school and target all of those resources, or like a resource bank, target all those resources at that particular school, and follow it for 5 years, and see what kind of change it makes. So we don't. That's kind of the way to use everybody's resources. That's the idea. So we want to talk about that. That's the that's one of the actions, or the end action. There's a lot of things that we want to do, but I'm happy to be in a relationship with superintendent and the community, because you can't do one without the other. So
Yeah. Miss Geraldine, you coming on and talking about, your involvement with like you said, the vulnerable, the marginalized, children in the community, and the whole objective of today's session was about talking about breaking the vicious cycle. In order to break that vicious cycle, we have already heard firsthand the importance of, first of all, becoming engaged, getting involved, letting your voice be heard, using the resources that you have and the abilities that you bring to the table. Bring them and be willing to openly use them. I love the fact that, yes, you just didn't present the problem, but you also ask for a meeting to talk about how can we build relationships. And in life, that's what we all must understand, is about building relationships. There is something that I always talk about, is make every connection count. So we need to understand, how do we make these connections count? Yes, there were many individuals around the table in the meeting, like you said last night, but you also had people who came forth and say, I'm willing to do this, I'm willing to do that. And that's what's needed. A continual is not just a one and done. This is never a one and done. no matter whom we're fighting for. And we just happen to be advocating right now for our youth, our marginalized, the ones who don't have a voice, the ones who going through these bullying in school are being put on probation or suspended, and it's hindering their education and becoming that person in society we know that can be productive.
Yes.
So get involved. We're going to post, I know we're going to post a website. I'm not sure about the actual telephone number, Ms. Geraldine, but we will post the website for individuals to reach out to you. Then that way,
Either
you
that or the email, because I don't.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you have an opportunity to become involved. So take it, I mean, take the step forward. Come forth and say, yes, this is what I offer. This is what I can bring to the table. This is what I'm willing to do. And this is how much time I can devote to it. So everyone, we can always give what we can, but if we don't ever start giving, then things are not going to get done. So, Ms. Geraldine, what would be some of your final comments or strategies that you'd like to leave with the general public?
Well, one thing I like to say is that we are providing services anyway. Everything that's in me, he's going to provide for everybody. Like I don't need a salary to go into the schools because I'm self sufficient. You know what I'm saying? So I don't need now, there are some people who won't gonna want a salary, but let's think about building something for our children first, and how it's going to be sustained. God will sustain it. I know He will. But the main thing is building a process. If we had a process, we had a school, one or two schools. Right now one, I think. But if we had that one school where everybody could pour whatever, if you're doing mentoring, okay, there's 10 children over here you can mentor. You're doing whatever, that academically gifted class in there, you can teach, or even those who are not, whatever, you can teach them. You can be what you want to be.
Right.
Don't let people say you're stupid. Don't, we got everything that we need, is how we use it.
Right.
It's how we use it. You know what I'm saying? And if we don't put, I gotta have some money first.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But we see an opportunity to invest in our children, then God will provide the need.
Yeah.
He will provide the needs.
And that gets back to one of the things that, of course, the Levelist does is talking about success without levels, which means if you have a levelist mindset, then you're willing to give, you're willing to pay it forward, you're willing to mentor, and like what you just said, the provisions will be taken care of. When you make that first step, then next thing you know, 2 or 3 steps have been made on your behalf. It's just that go on and take that step of faith. That's right. Start doing it.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Start doing it. Well, Ms. Geraldine, thank you so much for what you've done, what you're doing, and what you will continue to do. I mean, I want to thank the self members for coming on board and being a support. I'm a self member. I became a self member. My heart is with the youth, and you all already know that. And so those of you who have this heart of helping individuals move forward in life, that's what living your legacy is all about. Do it now while you're here, and pour into others your word, your wisdom, your knowledge, your skills, and your ability, so that we all can make this world a better place. So this ends it for this evening for me and for Miss Geraldine, Mama G, for being here. And so we want to thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions, please leave your questions in the comment. We're going to put a website address, an email address there for you to be able to also let Ms. Geraldine know that you're interested in becoming a part of this community. And also there will be the website for you to go to and actually look at what's been done. And so therefore it gives you a better understanding of what self is actually doing and the Mary Magdalene Ministries and what it has done. So Ms. Geraldine, I'm gonna leave this to this evening always saying, I believe in you and I trust you believe in yourself. So meet me back here, same time, same place, same station. I'll see you next week.
Thank you
Bye
so much
now.
for having me. Bye-bye.